You're about to hear 6 stories. And I want to warn you, not because they're gory, not because they're supernatural, okay? But because every single one of them could happen to you. These aren't tales of monsters hiding under beds or creatures lurking in the dark. These are stories about the most dangerous thing on earth. Other people, a babysitter who smiles a little too wide, a knock at the door during a storm from someone you think you know, a stranger across a river who takes your photo and says nothing, a house that was never truly empty. 6 real accounts. 6 moments where ordinary people realized the world was far less safe than they believed. And here's what makes them stick with you long after you've heard them. In every single story, there was a warning sign, a gut feeling, a wrong word, shadow that didn't fit. They all felt it. Most of them almost ignored it. Stay with me through all 6, because the last story, the one set inside a forgotten Victorian home on Ashford Street, that one doesn't end the way you think it does. Let's begin. I still remember the autumn of 2009 like it happened yesterday. The air in Brent Hollow had that damp, heavy feel it always carried when summer gave way to falling leaves. When the trees stood half bare and the wind carried the smell of wet earth. I was 9 years old, living with my mother in a crumbling duplex on Maple Street, the kind of place where paint peeled from the siding and neighbors argued loud enough for the whole street to hear. My mom, Dana, was a nurse at the county hospital. She worked nights more often than not. Money was tight. It's tight that every light bulb we didn't use, every grocery bag we stretched a little longer, was noticed. That also meant babysitters. Most of them were the kinds of people you'd expect in a neighborhood like ours. Teenage girls from church saving for their first car, or tired women from down the block who'd watch me while their own kids played in the background. They weren't perfect, but they were safe. Then there was Carla Ray. Carla was 21, older than most of the girls who came around. Dark hair, she bleached in streaks, long nails painted in neon colors. She wore hoop earrings the size of bracelets and had a laugh that sounded half like a dare and half like she was in on a joke no one else could hear. The first time she came over, she strutted into the house like she owned it, dropping her bag on the couch, popping her gum, and smiling at me like we were co-conspirators. My mom hired her out of desperation. I could see it in her eyes when she introduced us. Dana was exhausted from pulling double shifts, shadows like bruises under her eyes, her nurse's scrubs wrinkled. Carla was cheap, available, and didn't ask questions. At first, I wanted to like her. She told stories about concerts she'd been to, about sneaking into places she wasn't supposed to be, about people she dated who sounded like characters out of a movie. When you're 9, that kind of confidence feels magnetic. She painted her nails at our kitchen table, the smell of polish burning my nose, and told me I could pick a color when my mom wasn't looking. For a while, that was enough to make the nights less lonely. But it didn't stay that way. Sometimes Carla disappeared into the kitchen for long stretches, saying she had to make a call, though the smell of smoke would drift back into the living room. Other times, she'd pace the hallway, mumbling, laughing at things no one had said. Once, when I asked her to heat up dinner, she shoved a bag of chips into my hands and told me not to be such a nag. Then there were the whispers. "You ever hear voices in this house?" She asked me one night, crouching down so close I could see her eyes darting back and forth like she was chasing something invisible. "I swear, someone else lives here. You just don't see them." I wanted to tell her to stop, that she was scaring me. But the words stuck in my throat. I curled up on the couch instead, pretending to sleep while her shadow moved across the walls, tall and restless. I didn't tell my mom. At 9, you learn fast which problems your parent can solve and which ones will just make their lives harder. Mom already had too much to carry, so I stayed quiet, even when Carla's visits began to make me dread the sound of the front door closing behind my mother as she left for work. And then came the day Carla didn't show up at all. It was a Wednesday, Gray skies leaking drizzle that soaked through my shoes as I waited on the school steps. Carla was supposed to pick me up. My classmates had already scattered parents' cars, driving off one after another, until I was the only one left, hugging my backpack like it could keep me warm. Minutes stretched into hours. My stomach growled. Every headlight that passed made me flinch with hope, then sink with disappointment. I imagined Carla strolling up, chewing gum, shrugging like she just overslept, but she never came. By the time my mom's headlights cut through the rain, it was full dark. She pulled up fast, panic written all over her face. I ran to her, and she hugged me so tight it hurt. "Where's Carla?" she demanded, scanning the empty street. "She never came," I whispered. That night, Mom was furious. She called Carla's phone over and over, each time hanging up with her jaw clenched tighter. Finally, she slammed the phone down and swore Carla would never step foot in our house again. For a few weeks, life felt steadier. Mom arranged her shifts differently, found an older neighbor to watch me sometimes, and made sure I was never left waiting. Okay, I felt safer. I believed her promise, okay, until the Friday Carla came back. I spotted her before she saw me leaning against a dented car outside our duplex. Her lipstick was smudged. Her smile stretched wide when her eyes landed on me. "Hey kiddo," she called, waving like nothing had happened. "Miss me?" I froze on the sidewalk. Something about her voice made my skin crawl. "Your mom's mad at me." Yeah, but I've got surprises. Hop in. Let's grab some ice cream. It's like old times." I hesitated. Every warning my mother had ever given me buzzed in my head. But Carla's tone was light, teasing like an older sister, daring me against my better judgment. I climbed into the car. That was the night my childhood ended. Carla didn't drive us to the ice cream shop. She took me to a decaying apartment building across town. The hallway stank of mildew, carpet squishing with every step. Except the floorboards had soaked up years of spilled drinks and fights no one cleaned up after. Inside the apartment was worse. Piles of dirty dishes, blinds ripped halfway from the window, clothes strewn across the floor. The smell was sour, heavy, like something rotting just out of sight. I sat on a sagging couch, clutching my backpack, while Carla busied herself in the kitchen. At first, I thought maybe she'd really just forgotten the ice cream. Maybe she'd laugh, grab her keys, and take me home. But then, a glass shattered. She screamed at no one. Cabinets slammed. Her voice swung from laughter to rage in seconds. "Do you hear them?" she whispered suddenly, crouching in front of me. Her breath reeked of chemicals, her pupils blown wide. There in the walls. "Don't move." My heart pounded so hard, I thought it might crack my ribs. I wanted to run, but the door was locked. Skay, and Carla was between me and escape. Minutes dragged on like hours. A man shouted upstairs. A woman screamed back somewhere. A baby cried. Carla paced the room, muttering, then sat beside me, her hand gripping mine too tight. "It's just us now," she said softly, her smile trembling. "Your mom doesn't get it, but I'll take care of you." I nodded, because what else could I do? My fingers ached under her grip. I felt smaller than I'd ever felt before, and all I could think was, Mom doesn't know where I am. Meanwhile, my mother was tearing through town in a panic. When she got home that night and found the house empty, she called every neighbor, every friend, even the police. She didn't know where Carla lived, but someone at the hospital mentioned spotting her car near an old apartment complex. By the time the patrol car pulled up outside, I was still trapped on that couch, Carla sitting beside me with a bottle in her hand. The knock on the door startled us both. Carla's eyes went wide. "Don't answer," she hissed. But the knocking grew louder. Then came the crash of the door breaking in. Officers flooded the room. Carla screamed, lunging at me, but rough hands pulled her back. "Stay away from her," she shrieked as they dragged her out in handcuffs. Hey, I was crying so hard I couldn't breathe. A female officer knelt in front of me, her voice gentle. "You're safe now, sweetheart. We've got you." My mom burst through the doorway moments later, her face streaked with tears. She pulled me into her arms, and I buried my face in her shoulder, shaking. Carla was charged with neglect, endangerment, and attempted kidnapping. I never saw her again, but the damage she left behind stayed with me for years. After that night, I was never the same. Every creak in the house made me jump. Every shadow stretched too long. I couldn't be left alone without feeling like Carla was somewhere nearby, waiting. Even when Mom and I moved to a new home, safer, brighter, I still dreamed of that apartment. The broken blinds, the yelling upstairs, Carla's grip on my hand. I never told anyone about the whispers, okay? About how she swore there were voices in the walls. Or how her laughter twisted into something darker when she said, "It's just us now." Those were the things that haunted me the most. Years passed and I grew older. A part of me always stayed 9 years old in that apartment, learning the hard truth. Sometimes the people who smile at you, who are supposed to care for you, are the very ones you need to fear. And that's the memory I carry. Not a monster under the bed, not a shadow at the window. A babysitter with painted nails and a crooked smile who came back when she shouldn't have. If there's a lesson in it, it's this: trust your instincts, okay? Even when you're young, when someone feels wrong, when their smile doesn't reach their eyes, listen to that voice inside you. It's not just paranoia, survival, because evil doesn't always knock with a mask on. Sometimes it waves from the curb and tells you to hop in the car. Story 2. It wasn't Mrs. Conway. I was 10 years old the night I stopped being afraid of storms and started being afraid of people. I grew up in Willow Creek, Minnesota, a small town that was more fields than streets, more silence than sound. Our farmhouse sat at the edge of town, 2 stories of creaking wood, chipped paint, and windows that rattled when the October wind hit just right. My name is Ethan Miller. Back then, it was just me and my dad, David. My mom had left years earlier, chasing a different life in another state, something we'd never talked about much. My dad was a truck driver, the kind of man who worked long hauls and came home with calloused hands and tired eyes. He did his best for me, I know that now, but back then, what I remembered most was how often he wasn't home when night came down. Usually, that was okay. We had Mrs. Conway, our neighbor, from 2 houses down. She was an older widow with white hair, always pulled into a bun, and a laugh that carried through her porch when she told me stories about her late husband. She babysat me when Dad was on the road. She wasn't family, but in a way, she became the closest thing to a grandmother I'd ever known. The night everything changed, Mrs. Conway wasn't there. She'd fallen earlier that week and broken her hip. Dad told me the ambulance had taken her to the county hospital, and I remember the way his jaw tightened when he said it, like he didn't want me to know how worried he really was. I'd left him with a choice. He had a delivery he couldn't miss, hours away, and no one to watch me. I still see him kneeling at the doorway of our farmhouse, his big hand resting on my shoulder, his eyes trying to convince me of something we both knew wasn't true. "You'll be fine, champ," he said. "Just a few hours. I'll be back by dawn. Lock the doors. Keep the lights on. You're braver than you think." I nodded, even though my stomach felt like it was tied in knots. That was the last time I saw him until the next morning, and by then, I wasn't the same kid anymore. The storm rolled in faster than the weatherman promised. By 7 o'clock, rain was slapping against the windows so hard it sounded like handfuls of gravel. The trees out back bent in the wind like they might snap. I curled up on the couch with a blanket wrapped around me, cartoons playing low on the TV, a flashlight within arm's reach. I hated storms. The thunder always seemed too personal, like it was aimed right at me. But I kept telling myself what Dad said, braver than you think. The power flickered once, twice, and then it was gone. The house sank into blackness. The cartoon voices died into silence. Okay. I clicked on the flashlight, the thin beam shaking with my hand. Suddenly, every sound was sharper. The drip from the kitchen faucet, the scrape of branches against the siding, the groan of the old house shifting in the wind. Storm outside howled like a voice calling my name. That was when the knock came. Okay. It was at the back door, sharp and loud, like whoever it was wanted to make sure I couldn't pretend I hadn't heard. My dad's warning echoed in my head. Don't open the door for anyone. I froze. My heart pounded so hard, I thought it might crack my ribs. Okay. Then came a woman's voice. Ethan, sweetie, it's Mrs. Conway. Let me in. It's so cold out here. My heart hammered. Mrs. Conway? That didn't make sense. She was supposed to be in the hospital. Please, Ethan. The voice pressed softer now, pleading. Don't make me stay out here alone. I wanted to believe her. I wanted to believe the neighbor who'd baked me cookies and told me stories was just on the other side of that door. I raised the flashlight, shining it toward the rain-streaked window, and that's when I saw the shadow. It was tall, too tall, taller than Mrs. Conway could ever be. Fear doesn't hit you all at once. It creeps up from your toes, freezes your knees, and settles heavy in your chest. The shadow moved slow and deliberate, and the voice came again. Ethan, sweet boy, don't make me wait. I bolted. My legs moved before my brain caught up, sparring up the stairs, 2 at a time, heart hammering so loud I could barely hear the storm. I slammed my bedroom door, locked it, then crawled into the closet, curling myself into the smallest ball I could make. Downstairs, the back door rattled. Hinges groaned. Whoever was outside wasn't knocking anymore. They were trying to get in. I pressed my hand over my mouth to keep quiet. My flashlight beam shook against the closet wall. The house groaned again, only this time it wasn't the wind. Footsteps, slow, heavy footsteps across the wooden floor below. They were inside. Every board that creaked under their weight made my body flinch tighter. Tears streamed down my cheeks. Braver than you think. But bravery felt impossible when the footsteps climbed the stairs. They stopped outside my room. The doorknob rattled. I held my breath until my chest ached, praying, begging, promising anything to whoever was listening. If only that door wouldn't open. Just when I thought I couldn't take it anymore, a new sound broke through the storm. Blaring horns, flashing lights, red and blue danced across my window. Ethan, my dad's voice roared from outside. It's me. Open up. The footsteps moved fast, pounding back down the stairs. The back door slammed open, then nothing but the storm and the sound of my dad's boots pounding against the porch. By the time police officers swarmed the farmhouse, whoever had been inside was gone. No broken locks, no footprints in the mud, no proof except the echo of a voice I couldn't forget. Are you okay? My dad asked, scooping me into his arms when I stumbled out of the closet, sobbing. I clung to him, shaking so hard I could barely speak. It wasn't her. It wasn't Mrs. Conway. He looked at me with eyes that were both relieved and guilty, and he nodded like he already knew. For weeks after that night, I couldn't sleep without the flashlight in my hand. Every creak of the farmhouse sent me scrambling under the covers. The storm had passed, but the fear stayed. My dad tried to reassure me, saying sometimes storms made people imagine things that maybe it was the wind, a trick of the light. But I knew what I heard. I knew the voice that had called itself Mrs. Conway, and I knew the shadow that didn't fit her frame. What haunted me most wasn't the thunder or the darkness or even the footsteps in the hallway. It was the knock on the door I wanted so badly to believe was safe. That night taught me something I've carried ever since. Danger doesn't always show up wearing a mask. Sometimes it wears a familiar voice, one you trust enough to open the door for. And that's the part of growing up no one warned you about. The moment you learn the world can trick you with kindness. Trust your gut, even when your heart wants to believe otherwise. Because sometimes survival means listening to fear and knowing that not every knock at the door is meant to be answered. Story 3. Kelly's smile. I still remember that February night in 2009 as if it's etched into my bones. Rockford was the kind of suburban place people pass through without thinking much about. Sprawl of aging ranch-styled houses, cul-de-sacs, and corner stores that closed too early. It wasn't dangerous, not the way cities on the news were. At least, that's what my parents used to say. At night, every corner of our house felt alive. The old furnace wheezed like it was breathing under the floorboards. The rafters creaked like footsteps pacing overhead. The shadows always stretched just a little too far. My parents brushed it off as imagination, but I knew better. That night was supposed to be special for them, their anniversary. They'd booked a table at a nice restaurant downtown. My dad put on his old suit jacket. My mom wore a red dress. Before walking out, she leaned down, kissed my forehead, and promised, "Sarah, it's just a few hours. Kelly will take care of you and Noah." Kelly was new to us, 17, tall, with dark blonde hair tucked under a beanie and a smile so quick it almost seemed rehearsed. She'd been recommended by a family friend who said she was responsible and sweet. Maybe she was, but from the moment she stepped into our house that evening, I noticed how her eyes kept darting toward the windows, as if she expected something or someone to appear. At 12, I wasn't little anymore. I knew when an adult was nervous, no matter how hard they tried to hide it. Noah, at 6, was just happy someone would read him bedtime stories and pour too much syrup on his waffles. He took to Kelly immediately. I envied that easy trust he had. The night settled slowly. Outside, snow drifted down, frosting the streets, making the whole neighborhood look like it was sealed inside a snow globe. Inside, Kelly dropped her backpack onto the couch and said brightly, "Don't worry, I'll keep you guys safe." Her words should have comforted me. Instead, I felt a cold ripple move through me. Why say that unless she thought there was something to worry about? By 9 o'clock, Noah was asleep. I stayed up in the living room with Kelly, watching a sitcom rerun on low volume. The house felt quieter than usual, too quiet. That was when the power flickered. The screen blinked, the lights buzzed, and everything went black. Kelly laughed nervously. Old houses, right? But her laugh didn't sound real. It was the kind of laugh you give when you're trying to cover fear. Then came the sound. A light, deliberate tap, tap, tap against the glass of the sliding back door. We both froze. Branches, snow from the roof, is what I told myself. Then it came again. Tap, tap, tap. Perfectly even, perfectly timed. Kelly grabbed the remote and muted the TV. The silence pressed against my ears. The tapping stopped. For a moment, I thought it was over. Then came the crunch of footsteps in the snow just outside. Probably just the wind, Kelly whispered. But I could see the tension in her shoulders. It's the way her hands shook as she reached for her phone, not dialing anyone, just holding it like a prop. I hugged my knees to my chest, staring at the sliding door. The yard beyond was empty, blanketed in white, the motion light glowing faintly, but I couldn't shake the feeling that someone was out there, just beyond the edge of the light, watching. 10 minutes dragged by. I was almost ready to convince myself it was nothing. Then another sound split the silence. This time, it wasn't from outside. It came from the hallway. It's a slow, deliberate creak, the exact sound of the loose floorboard just outside my bedroom. Kelly stiffened. Then she forced a smile, her voice too bright. "Stay here, I'll check it out." I grabbed her wrist. "No, don't," but she pulled free. Her face unreadable and disappeared into the hallway. The shadows swallowed her whole. I sat there, staring into the dark, the seconds stretching endlessly. Then I heard it, a soft laugh. But it wasn't Kelly's laugh. It was deeper, male, coming from my bedroom. My whole body turned to ice. I moved fast. I tiptoed toward Noah's room, every step heavy with dread. He was still asleep, his small face peaceful, unaware of the danger creeping just down the hall. "Noah, wake up." He stirred, blinked. "Sarah, I lifted him out of bed, his little arms wrapped around my neck. That was when I saw it. In the reflection of the hallway mirror, a man, tall, hooded, slipping silently out of my bedroom. And behind him, following close, was Kelly. She was smiling. Not the nervous, polite smile she'd shown us earlier. This smile was knowing, it's almost triumphant. Clamped a hand over my mouth to stop the scream that threatened to spill out. My babysitter, the girl who was supposed to protect us, had let him in. I didn't wait to see more. I turned, dragging Noah with me, and rushed into the bathroom. Slammed the door, locked it, pressed my back against the wood, gasping. Noah started to cry. "Please, don't make a sound." A second later, Kelly's voice floated through the hall, sing-song and coaxing. "Sarah, don't be scared. He's just a friend. We won't hurt you if you come out." The doorknob rattled, slowly at first, then harder. Then came the banging, heavy, deliberate, would groan under the force. I clutched Noah tighter. His tears soaked my shoulder. The only thing I could think, over and over, please let them come home. Please let them come home now. The pounding seemed endless. Each slam vibrated through my chest. Then, suddenly, it stopped. Footsteps, pacing. Kelly's voice again, softer. "You don't have to hide. We're not bad people." Her words made my skin crawl. Then, headlights. The glow swept across the bathroom window. Tires crunched on the driveway. My heart leaped. My parents. The front door opened. My mother's voice, my father's low tone. Relief surged through me so fast it made me dizzy. The intruder's footsteps pounded suddenly, retreating fast toward the back of the house. A door slammed open. By the time my parents threw open the bathroom door, the house was silent. Kelly and the man were gone. They never caught her. That was the worst part. The police came, combing through the house, noting the muddy footprints trailing out the back door, the abandoned backpack Kelly had left by the couch. She and the man had vanished into the snowy night. My parents replaced the locks, installed cameras, promised me nothing like it would ever happen again. But even at 12, I knew there were no guarantees. For weeks, I wedged a chair under my bedroom doorknob before sleeping, carried a flashlight everywhere. Every creak made me jump. Every shadow stretched toward me. Noah bounced back faster. Kids do, but I didn't. Not really. It wasn't just the man in the hallway or the sound of his laugh. It was Kelly's smile, that awful, knowing smile. Because the truth I've learned that night is one I've carried ever since. Sometimes the danger isn't outside your house, it's knocking at the door. Sometimes it's already sitting in your living room smiling while your parents drive away. Hey, if there's a lesson in that night, it's this. Be careful who you trust with your safety. Evil doesn't always wear a mask. Sometimes it wears a friendly face. Story 4. Something in the basement. I was 14 the first time my parents left me alone overnight. Up until then, they always made sure somebody checked in. A neighbor dropping by, a cousin staying over, something. But that Saturday in November, it was just me in the house at 27 Birchwood Lane. Portland in late fall can feel like the edge of the world. Days shrink early, the air turns sharp, and when the sun sets, it swallows the town whole. Our colonial-style house looked picture-perfect in daylight. White trim, shutters, a clean front walk. But when the night came down, it became a creaking, echoing labyrinth. Every hallway stretched too long. Every doorway looked like an entrance to something waiting. My dad was away in Boston for a conference. My mom, a nurse, had an overnight shift at the hospital. "You'll be fine, Daniel. You're old enough now. Keep the doors locked. Don't answer the phone if it's a stranger. Call me if you get scared." "Mom, come on." I tried to sound annoyed, tried to be a man instead of a kid. "I'm not little anymore." She smiled like she wasn't convinced, but didn't push it. The door shut behind her at 6. and I was officially on my own. At first, it wasn't so bad. I ordered pizza, sat with my laptop, played games. The wind scraped branches against the siding. The furnace groaned like usual. I told myself this was no different than 1,000 other nights. But as the hours stretched, that illusion thinned. The rooms felt hollow. The quiet grew heavier. Even the way the refrigerator hummed felt menacing, like it was filling up the silence too much. By 10, I was curled on the couch with a blanket laptop balanced on my knees when I heard it. From the basement, at first, faint, a dragging sound. Something heavy scraping across concrete. I froze. It came again. I muted the laptop. My heart pounded. My mom had always said the basement pipes banged when the weather turned cold. But this wasn't banging. It was slower, heavier, like something or someone moving down there. Crept toward the basement door in the narrow hallway off the kitchen. The brass knob felt icy under my palm. The door opened with a groan. The smell hit me first, damp, earthy, like wet cement. I peered down the stairs. The chain pull light swayed slightly back and forth, though no one had touched it. Hello? My voice cracked in the silence. No answer. I stood there for a long moment, stomach twisted into knots, before slamming the door shut and locking it. Back on the couch, I told myself I was overreacting. Probably a rat. Maybe the wind. God turned the TV on loud, trying to drown it out. Then came the sound I couldn't mistake. Footsteps. Slow, deliberate, climbing one step at a time. I bolted upright. The sound stopped. My pulse throbbed in my ears. I ran to the counter, grabbed the cordless phone, and dialed my mom, straight to voicemail. Mom, it's me. I think someone's in the house. Please call back. The doorknob rattled once, twice, like someone was testing it. I dropped the phone, grabbed the biggest kitchen knife I could find. I didn't dare stay near the basement door. I took the knife and bolted upstairs to my room, dragging a chair against the door after I locked it. My hand shook so badly, I almost dropped it. I texted my friend Tyler. Think someone's in my house. Please don't tell anyone. Just stay awake in case I need you. He texted back instantly. Dude, call 911. But I couldn't. Not yet. What if it really was just the pipes? What if I got in trouble for making a scene? Eyes sat on my bed, knees pulled up, the knife balanced across my lap. Somewhere around midnight, I must have dozed off because I woke to a new sound. It wasn't coming from the basement anymore. It was in my room. A faint scraping, slow, deliberate, coming from the closet. I sat up hard, staring at the narrow door across from my bed. The sound grew louder, like nails scratching the wood from the inside. I gripped the knife until my knuckles ached. The closet door creaked and slowly eased open. I jumped to my feet, ready to scream. The closet was empty. My clothes swayed slightly, as if someone had just brushed past them. I stayed awake the rest of the night, knife in hand, eyes locked on that closet. When the sun finally rose, I felt like I'd survived something ancient. At 7, I heard my mom's car pull into the driveway. I ran downstairs before she even opened the door. Daniel, what's wrong? It was someone in the basement. I heard them. Swear I heard them. She tried to calm me down, brushed my hair back like when I was little. But then she went to the basement. The light was still on, okay? And the window, the one near the ceiling we never used, was wide open. Muddy footprints tracked across the cement floor, leading straight to the stairs. Her face went pale. She called the police immediately. They searched the house, combed the yard, but by then, whoever it was had vanished. Probably a break-in gone wrong, one officer said. They realized someone was home and left, but I knew better. Break-ins don't sound like footsteps climbing toward you. They don't scratch from inside your closet. Whoever it was hadn't just broken in. They'd been waiting. After that night, everything changed. I begged not to be left alone again, We got a security system, added motion lights, replaced the old basement window. But none of that fixed what was inside me. For months, I couldn't sleep with the closet door shut. Every night, I swore I could hear faint scratching. So I'd get up, fling it open, and stare into the darkness until my eyes watered. Nothing was ever there, but I never shook the feeling that something had been. People always talk about monsters being imaginary, about shadows being tricks of the mind. But the truth is simpler, scarier. Sometimes the monster is just another person. Someone you don't know. Someone who decides your home is the place they want to be. Locks, alarms, even a parent's reassurance can't erase the truth that danger can find its way inside. The lesson isn't to live in fear. It's to never ignore the instinct that tells you when something feels wrong. Story 5. You awaken there? I never thought I'd be the type to run off into the woods alone, but that summer made me someone I barely recognized. Emily and I had split 2 months before. Our apartment turned into nothing more than 4 walls and echoes. Every night I'd come home, dump my keys on the counter, and the silence would swallow me whole. Friends tried to drag me out, dinner, drinks, weekend hikes. But every time they looked at me, I could see the pity under their questions. How are you holding up? Do you think you'll get back together? I got tired of repeating the same lies. So I hatched an idea. A weekend of solitude. Silence was going to smother me. I might as well choose the kind that came with fresh air and trees. I picked a remote spot along the Dashes River, a clearing I remembered from a fishing trip as a teenager, shaded by pines, close enough to the water that the constant rush might drown out whatever kept clawing at me inside. Packing was simple. Tent, sleeping bag, canned soup, fire kit, flashlight, and my dad's old .38 revolver. He'd given it to me with one of his trademark lines. If you're ever where nobody can hear you scream, this will get you back home. I'd only ever fired it at paper targets, but I packed it anyway. Something about going into the woods alone makes you prepare for things you can't name. The drive from Bend was 3 hours of winding roads through forests so thick the sun barely touched the asphalt. When I finally pulled up at the trailhead, golden light spilling through the pines, I almost believed this was the peace I needed. I hiked down, found a clearing, pitched my tent by the water. That was when I noticed them. Across the river, maybe 50 yards downstream, were 2 men, 30s, maybe 40s. The look of guys who'd spent their lives outdoors. One was tall, with a shaved head and broad shoulders. The other, stockier, with a beard that made his face hard to read. Their blue pickup sat crooked among the trees. They waved when they saw me, polite enough, but their eyes lingered longer than felt right. By sunset, I was sitting cross-legged by my fire, eating canned soup, when the tall one shouted across the river, "You out here, all alone?" I froze. I could have lied, pretended I was meeting friends. But the fire crackled loud behind me, and my one-man tent sat in plain view. "Yeah," I admitted. He grinned, teeth flashing in the half-dark. "Brave. Not many do that anymore." His friend muttered something that made them both laugh, till they turned back to their fire. And I was left with an uneasy feeling I couldn't shake. You out here all alone? The next morning, I woke to sunlight pressing through the tent walls. Birds, river, nothing dangerous. Stepped outside and lit a small fire for coffee. That was when I caught sight of them again, standing on the opposite bank, rods in hand, but they weren't fishing. They were watching me. I tried to ignore it, poured coffee into a tin cup, looked away. When I glanced back, the taller man raised his phone. Click. The sound carried across the water. He took a picture of me. No smile, no wave, explanation. Just the shutter snapping before he shoved the phone in his pocket. My stomach nodded. I spent the afternoon trying to distract myself. Walked upriver, skipped rocks, wrote in a journal. But every time I turned my head, I imagined eyes on me, watching, measuring. As the sun fell and shadows lengthened, I built another fire. Across the river, their fire burned too brighter. larger, like a signal. I couldn't see their faces clearly in the flicker, but I could hear voices, laughter, murmurs, something that sounded like my name. By 9, I doused my fire and zipped into the tent. The river's steady hiss filled the silence, but it didn't calm me. Every sound outside became a threat. Branches snapping, pine needles crunching. My hand stayed close to the revolver. Around midnight, the sound came. Footsteps, not across the river, here, circling my tent. The nylon walls trembled as someone brushed against them. Then, a shadow leaned close. "Hey," the tall man's voice. "You awake in there?" I gripped the revolver, sweat slicking my palm. Silence seemed the only defense. He chuckled, low and flat. "Don't worry. I just want to talk." The nylon pressed inward, its hand maybe inches from my head. My throat went dry. "Back away," I managed. Now, another laugh. This one colder. "Or what? You'll shoot me?" The sound of metal tapping would followed, rhythmic, deliberate. A hatchet. I realized it, though I never saw it. I fired into the air. The blast cracked the forest open, scattering birds, echoing downriver. Silence followed. Then I heard him step back, slowly, and then nothing but the river again. I didn't sleep, not a minute. Soon as the sky turned pale, I packed up camp in a frenzy. When I looked across the river, the campsite was empty. No fire, no men, no truck, just silence. I hauled my gear back to the car, glancing over my shoulder every few seconds. At the trailhead, my car sat untouched, but on the tree beside it, carved deep into the bark, were 4 words. Ivan was here. The letters were fresh, but still raw and pale. I drove straight to the ranger station, hands gripping the wheel so tight my knuckles ached. The ranger listened, scribbling notes. "We'll check it out." But folks carved names in trees all the time. Could be unrelated. Unrelated. That word clung to me like a curse. That night, back in my apartment, the silence was worse than ever. I slept with the revolver on the nightstand. And when I dreamed, I heard the voice. "You awake in there?" Weeks passed. The fear didn't fade. Then came the texts. Unknown numbers. Short messages. "Out here, all alone, brave. Ivan was here." I changed numbers twice. The messages kept coming. I stopped sleeping. Every creak in the apartment sent me gripping the revolver. Friends noticed the bags under my eyes. The way I jumped when someone said my name. I told them I was fine. The lie had become reflex. It's been years since that weekend. I still don't camp alone. I still can't sleep without a flashlight burning in the corner. Sometimes I wake in the middle of the night, certain I heard footsteps circling my bed, and I stay frozen until dawn. I've never seen the 2 men again, not in person, but every time I step outside, I scan crowds, parking lots, forests, wondering if one day I'll catch a familiar grin, a pair of empty eyes. The worst part isn't the memory of that voice outside my tent. It's the knowledge that out there in the wilderness, safety is an illusion. Locks don't exist. Neighbors don't hear you scream. It's just you and whoever decides to step close enough to whisper through the nylon. Trust your instincts. Don't ignore the unease. Don't explain away the warning signs, because sometimes danger doesn't announce itself with fangs or claws. Sometimes it just asks a question in the dark. You awake in there? Story 6. The house on Ashford Street. I never thought I'd end up in a house that made me question every decision I'd ever made. Jenna and I had started our home staging business 6 months before, doing the usual condos in the suburbs. Little split levels where the biggest problem was tacky wallpaper or faded carpet. Nothing ever prepared us for Ashford Street. Lillian Grant's call came late one Friday. She sounded nervous, almost afraid. She explained that her grandmother's Victorian home had been abandoned for years. Nobody wants it, she said quietly. especially the upstairs. Visitors always leave unsettled. I laughed at first. Victorian homes were quirky, but unsettling. That was exaggeration. Jenna took the call seriously. "We'll take a look," she said. I didn't know if it was courage or curiosity that made me agree. When we arrived, the house towered above us like a relic from another century, paint peeled in long strips. The wraparound porch sagged in one corner. The windows, though intact, seemed to stare. Something about it pressed down on me, a heaviness that wasn't just from age or neglect. Stepping inside, the air was thick dust, damp wood, and a faint metallic temps I couldn't place. The living room was a disaster of old furniture and yellowed sheets. I pulled one off a love seat and a cloud of dust hit my face. Then I saw it. Faint handprints smeared upward toward the ceiling. Too wide for a woman, too high for a child. My stomach tightened. Jenna moved past me. "It's probably just old family antics," she said, but her hand trembled slightly as she brushed dust from a small side table. The kitchen was worse. Cabinets sealed with heavy padlocks, a refrigerator duct-taped shut, crusted remnants of something long gone. "Why would anyone do this?" Jenna muttered. I didn't answer. Smell of decay was faint but real, and my imagination ran wild. By the time we reached the stairwell, I realized the first story was almost safe compared to what lay above. The hallway stretched long and dim, a single dusty bulb flickering overhead. One door bore hundreds of tally marks. Another was scratched with frantic words. "Help. Hungry. Please." Probably just someone trying to scare teenagers, I said, trying to laugh. Jenna didn't respond. She gripped the railing, her knuckles white. We paused together at the farthest room. The smell hit us first. Rust, old medicine, and something else I couldn't name. Leather restraints hung from a bare mattress, the kind used in medical facilities. The wood bore deep grooves from struggles long past. A metal tray lay on the floor, rusted tools scattered beside empty pill bottles. I wanted to leave immediately. But curiosity anchored me. Jenna's breath came fast, shallow. I grabbed her hand. "We shouldn't be here," I whispered. But she was frozen too, staring at the bed as if it had spoken to her. Then it moved, a subtle creak. The straps pulled taut for a second, then slackened. Neither of us moved, both terrified to breathe. Then the sound of slow, deliberate footsteps, echoing above the floorboards. Someone or something coming down the hallway. "Did you see that?" Jenna's voice was barely audible. I don't know what I saw, I admitted, my hands shaking. The steps grew closer. I realized we hadn't checked the other rooms. Then a figure appeared at the top of the stairs, bent, dragging a leg, leather restraint swinging from wrists and ankles. It didn't rush. It didn't stumble. It simply descended, each step groaning under its weight. "Go now." We bolted down the stairs, tripping over the edge of a rug, slamming into the front door. I yanked it open, letting the humid Charleston air hit us like a wave. Lillian stood across the street, arms crossed, watching. She didn't flinch when we ran past her. "I told you," she said softly. "No one ever stays upstairs long enough to see her." We didn't stop running until my car's engine roared to life. In the car, Jenna tried to speak. Who was that?" "I think it was her, the woman who lived upstairs." Lillian had been reluctant to talk, but after my repeated questions, she confessed the unthinkable. Her grandmother, Eleanor Whitman, had been hidden away for years, restrained, under the guise of care. She died in that house 6 weeks prior. Someone had continued living there, cashing checks, maintaining the illusion of life. I couldn't breathe. I called the police. When they searched the house, the rooms were empty. No bed, no tools, no restraints. As if the upstairs had never existed. The officers murmured about squatters and theft, Ted, but I knew what I had seen. In the days after, I couldn't shake the images of that stairwell. Every shadow reminded me of the bending figure. Every sound of leather against metal made my pulse spike. We returned to smaller homes, but Ashford Street remained lodged in my memory. Even the smell of dust or damp would trigger a visceral reaction. I began sleeping with the lights on, imagining that figure silently following me down the hallways I thought were safe. Sometimes late at night, I swore I could hear it. A dragging footstep, a faint metallic clink. Rationally, I knew it was impossible, but my body remembered what my mind tried to forget. Years later, I still carried the memory of that house. Every Victorian home I pass makes my skin prickle. Every empty upstairs hallway calls to me. I learned a lesson about curiosity, courage, and limits. Some doors should remain closed, some floors unexplored, some secrets left untouched. Bravery is not the absence of fear. It's knowing when to walk away. Jenna and I survived Ashford Street because we listened to the instinct screaming at us to leave. Not everyone does, okay? And sometimes the house remembers those who enter. 6 stories, okay? 6 people who trusted the wrong person, ignored the wrong feeling, opened the wrong door. And all of them had a moment, a flicker of instinct. It's that quiet voice that said, something is wrong here. Some of them listened in time. Some almost didn't. If there's a single thread connecting every one of these accounts, it's this: evil rarely announces itself. It doesn't always wear a mask, carry a weapon, or break down your door in the middle of the night. Sometimes it wears neon nail polish and pops gum in your kitchen. Sometimes it speaks in a voice you love. Sometimes it sits beside you on the couch and smiles. The world is full of people we choose to trust. Choose carefully, stay safe, and if something ever feels wrong, listen.